6 actors, 1 iconic codename. Over 60 years of cinema. Today, we're diving into the evolution of 007, analyzing every official Bond in chronological order to examine their unique mark on the franchise. From Connery's raw charisma to Craig's gritty intensity, we're breaking down who defined the era and who just wore the tux. But we aren't choosing the best Bond. That's up to you. After watching the video, head to the comments and vote for your definitive 007. Don't just name them. Tell us why. Is it the gadgets, the one-liners, or the emotional weight? Let's settle this right now. Sean Connery. 7 James Bond movies. Sean Connery wasn't producer Albert Broccoli's first choice for Bond. That honor belonged to Cary Grant, who declined. When Connery first appeared on screen in Dr. No in 1962, he earned just $15,000, yet he immediately established the template for every spy thriller that followed. Connery's interpretation combined physical menace, understated wit, and controlled danger, creating a character who could navigate high-stakes espionage with lethal efficiency. The early films achieved critical and commercial success through careful balance. Dr. No grossed $40 million on a budget of $1 million. From Russia with Love elevated the franchise with authentic Cold War tension and realistic spycraft, while Goldfinger became a cultural phenomenon, establishing the formula of exotic locations, innovative gadgetry from Q Branch, and memorable villains. Connery's delivery possessed surgical precision, each line calculated for maximum impact with minimum effort. Throughout 5 consecutive films, Connery projected complete control, making impossible scenarios feel plausible through sheer confidence and screen presence. By 1967's You Only Live Twice, production difficulties and creative exhaustion became evident. Connery announced his retirement from the role, though he returned for Diamonds Are Forever in 1971 for a then-record $1.25 million salary. Despite visible fatigue in these later entries, Connery's fundamental presence remained undeniable, his performance establishing benchmarks that persist today. He wasn't merely portraying Fleming's literary creation. He was translating British post-war masculinity for international audiences. Sophisticated yet brutal, charming yet calculated, representing Britain's declining imperial power through the lens of individual excellence. His influence on action cinema cannot be overstated. Connery created the modern cinematic spy archetype. The fact that subsequent Bonds are measured against his 7-film tenure demonstrates his lasting impact. Connery's Bond embodied controlled power, effortless charisma, and precise lethality, making him, for multiple generations, the definitive interpretation and an irreplaceable foundation that all future actors would reference, emulate, and sometimes struggle to escape. George Lazenby. 1 James Bond movie. George Lazenby remains the most unconventional casting in Bond history, an Australian car salesman and model with no prior acting experience. Selected after impressing producers during a chance meeting, a single appearance in On Her Majesty's Secret Service represents both missed opportunity and surprising achievement. Lazenby's Bond displays youthful athleticism combined with noticeable inexperience, creating a portrayal that feels unpolished, yet strangely authentic. Physically, he performed many of his own stunts. The film's action sequences possess visceral intensity, with hand-to-hand combat that feels genuinely dangerous rather than choreographed for elegance. Lazenby lacked Connery's natural authority and commanding screen presence, but his performance contained unexpected vulnerability that aligned perfectly with the film's emotional arc. This remains the only Bond film where 007 marries, and Lazenby's portrayal of genuine romantic attachment brings unexpected depth. The film's conclusion, where Bond's wife Tracy is murdered, remains the franchise's most devastating moment, proving that vulnerability enhanced rather than diminished the character's effectiveness. Critics initially dismissed Lazenby's performance as amateurish, and box office returns disappointed compared to Connery's entries, earning $64 million versus Goldfinger's $125 million. Yet the film itself demonstrates remarkable craftsmanship. With director Peter Hunt's innovative editing and Telly Savalas's grounded villain performance elevating the material, Lazenby's acting may show inconsistency, his charm occasionally forced, and his emotional range limited, but the film's overall quality compensates significantly. Lazenby's Bond feels like an alternate timeline, suggesting directions the franchise might have explored with more emotionally available characterizations. His decision to leave based on advice that the Bond franchise was culturally outdated proved catastrophically wrong. Within years, Roger Moore's films were breaking box office records. This choice immortalized Lazenby as cinema's greatest what-if, a single compelling glimpse of unrealized potential, executed with variable skill but undeniable impact. Decades later, critical re-evaluation has elevated both the film and Lazenby's performance, generating ongoing discussion, nostalgia, and recognition of his underappreciated contribution to Bond's evolution. Roger Moore. 7 James Bond movies. Roger Moore assumed the role in 1973's Live and Let Die at age 45. Older than Connery had been, bringing a fundamentally different interpretation to the character. Moore's Bond emphasized charm, humor, and sophistication over physical intimidation, treating espionage as an adventure requiring intelligence and style rather than brute force. Moore embraced spectacle and escapism. The Spy Who Loved Me featured cars that transformed into submarines. Moonraker sent Bond into space, and Octopussy included a circus sequence, demonstrating the franchise's shift toward pure entertainment. Yet beneath the extravagance lay genuine capability. Moore's Bond solved problems through quick thinking, cultural knowledge, and improvisation, maintaining credibility even when plots became increasingly fantastical. Films like For Your Eyes Only and The Spy Who Loved Me showcase a surprisingly competent operative beneath the gentlemanly exterior, with Moore bringing theatrical training and impeccable timing to every scene. Critics frequently noted the age disparity. Moore was 57 when he filmed A View to Kill, visibly older than his leading ladies and action sequences required, but this maturity added dimension. Bond wasn't just a physical specimen. He was an experienced intelligence officer whose expertise compensated for declining athleticism. Moore's 7-film tenure from 1973 to 1985 emphasized accessibility and broad appeal, reminding audiences that Bond's lifestyle should inspire aspiration as much as suspense. While the humor occasionally undermined dramatic stakes, his consistent likability and obvious enjoyment made him incredibly popular. His films collectively grossed over $900 million worldwide. Moore's performance demonstrated that Bond could be witty, intelligent, and fundamentally decent, even while confronting increasingly outlandish villains and implausible scenarios. Whether appreciated or criticized, Moore made escapism elegant, establishing a legacy of sophistication, precise comedic timing, and unashamed showmanship that continues to influence the franchise's lighter entries and remains beloved by millions worldwide. Timothy Dalton. 2 James Bond movies. Timothy Dalton brought Shakespearean training and literary fidelity to Bond, creating the darkest, most intense interpretation the franchise had yet seen. Dalton's Bond was serious, focused, and fundamentally opposed to the notion that espionage should provide entertainment. Humor was minimal, gadgets were practical, and his performance emphasized Fleming's original vision. A cold, efficient government assassin with psychological depth, The Living Daylights and License to Kill explored darker territory, personal vengeance, moral ambiguity, and genuine consequences. Dalton's intensity created genuine menace. This was an agent who killed without hesitation, displayed visible trauma, and rarely smiled for audiences or other characters. Some viewers found him excessively grim after Moore's 12-year tenure, but Dalton's commitment to Fleming's novels gave his portrayal literary authenticity, representing the closest cinematic approximation of the book's original characterization. He demonstrated physical capability, emotional inaccessibility, and moral clarity, creating a spy whose charm was subdued and whose danger was constant and palpable. While his brief 2-film tenure from 1987 to 1989 limited his range, Dalton left lasting impact, proving Bond didn't require excessive charm or gadgetry to command attention and box office success. This was the Bond who could genuinely frighten villains and audiences equally, balancing authenticity with cinematic requirements and action spectacle. Dalton's contributions were underappreciated during initial release, with License to Kill earning only $34 million domestically, leading to a 6-year franchise hiatus. However, his influence resonates powerfully today, providing essential transition, demonstrating that Bond could be dark, psychologically complex, and more than cartoonish heroism, establishing crucial groundwork for the grounded, emotionally damaged interpretation that Daniel Craig would later perfect and expand 2 decades later. Pierce Brosnan. 4 James Bond movies. Pierce Brosnan entered the role in 1995 with GoldenEye, ending the franchise's longest hiatus and successfully modernizing Bond for the post-Cold War era. Brosnan's Bond balanced charm, intelligence, and physicality with remarkable ease. He navigated romantic encounters and life-threatening situations with equal confidence and poise. GoldenEye re-established Bond as commercially viable and culturally relevant, earning $350 million worldwide and receiving critical praise for updating the formula while honoring tradition. His subsequent films Tomorrow Never Dies, The World Is Not Enough, and Die Another Day refined the approach with cutting-edge action, cinematography, global-scale threats, and charismatic villains ranging from media moguls to North Korean officers. Brosnan could deliver humor without descending into self-parody and convey genuine stakes without becoming overly serious, making him arguably the most balanced Bond portrayal. Physically, he was credible as an action protagonist without requiring excessive suspension of disbelief, handling fight choreography, vehicle chases, and technological sequences with professional competence and natural athleticism. While Die Another Day's heavy CGI use and invisible car drew criticism, Brosnan remained charismatic, capable, and completely in command, embodying someone who genuinely understood the roles, requirements, and audience expectations. His 4-film era from 1995 to 2002 emphasized entertainment without sacrificing credibility entirely, a difficult balance that made Brosnan the definitive Bond for millennials and Generation X audiences. He projected confidence, magnetism, and genuine enjoyment of the work, contrasting sharply with the existential crises of surrounding eras and different character interpretations. Brosnan's legacy lies in harmonizing Bond's dangerous appeal with contemporary blockbuster expectations, proving the spy could be simultaneously sophisticated and lethal, humorous and deadly, all while maintaining perfect composure and demonstrating why the character remained culturally relevant after 30-plus years. Daniel Craig. 5 James Bond movies. Daniel Craig fundamentally reimagined Bond when cast in 2005, becoming the first blonde Bond and facing immediate fan backlash that dissolved upon Casino Royale's release. Craig's Bond was physical, violent, and emotionally complex. He ran, fought, and suffered like a human weapon, bringing unprecedented realism to a character who had previously approached superhuman invulnerability. Casino Royale deconstructed and rebuilt Bond's mythology, providing an origin story emphasizing grit, romantic tragedy, and moral compromise, grossing $594 million worldwide and receiving near-universal critical acclaim. Physicality became central. Craig performed extensive stunts, and fight sequences were brutal, exhausting, and realistic, showing the genuine physical toll of espionage work. Craig's 5-film arc from 2006 to 2021 emphasized narrative continuity, connecting relationships, losses, and past decisions into a single evolving story unprecedented in Bond's history. Bond was no longer simply a problem solver. He became a character with visible scars, psychological trauma, and personal history influencing every decision. Fan response divided sharply. Many embraced the emotional depth and contemporary relevance, while others missed traditional escapist glamour and standalone adventures. But Craig's Bond undeniably delivered intensity, stakes, and authenticity previously unseen in the franchise. He displayed vulnerability, rage, and genuine grief, making it all appear convincing and emotionally resonant. From Quantum of Solace's rushed production through Skyfall's critical triumph and No Time to Die's controversial conclusion where Bond dies, Craig proved the character could evolve with contemporary audiences while retaining fundamental characteristics, intelligence, capability, and determination, even when displaying profound humanity and emotional vulnerability. He remains divisive among longtime fans, but Craig's 15-year tenure demonstrated that Bond could be completely reimagined, deconstructed, and rebuilt, proving the legend transcends any single actor, wardrobe choice, or gadget. 6 Bonds. 6 distinct interpretations spanning 62 years. Some emphasized sophistication, others brutality, some chose humor, others emotional trauma. None universally definitive, yet each definitive for particular audiences. That's precisely why this discussion endures across generations. Now it's your turn to weigh in. Who is your definitive James Bond? Cast your vote in the comments below and explain your reasoning. Is it Connery's original template? Lazenby's untapped potential? Moore's charming escapism? Dalton's literary accuracy? Brosnan's perfect balance? Craig's emotional reinvention? Vote now, and while you're down there, hit that like button if you enjoyed this analysis. Subscribe for more deep dives into cinema history. And check out our other videos exploring film's most iconic characters. The debate continues, and your voice matters.